All right, welcome to the Sports Guys. This is the weekend between the last playoff game and the Super Bowl, so we have kind of an interim week. We decided to tackle NBA and college basketball tonight. We're going to talk about how those seasons are going. We're exactly midway through the conference schedule in college, and we're just a little bit over halfway on the NBA schedule. And so we want to talk to you guys about what are the standings looking like, who are the surprise teams this year, what are some of the big stories, is this LeBron's last year? Where is Giannis going to get traded to? There are a lot of big stories that are happening. How you doing, Robbie?
Doing great. Doing great. Loving how much basketball I've been diving into lately. It feels like time to pivot a little bit.
It is. It feels that way. What do you think of the basketball so far that you've been watching? Like I said, we're starting to turn our attention a little bit from football to college basketball and pro basketball now. What are you
Well,
seeing?
I think both are getting very interesting. I think you're seeing a lot of patterns um, starting to emerge where both are starting. Like in college, I always talk to you about this. We've discussed it many times in our drives to work, where it feels like almost 3 seasons. The
Mm-hmm.
first season is before Christmas. There's a lot of coaches are trying to decide how many players do they actually have? How big
Mm-hmm.
is their rotation? Um, they're playing in weird tournaments in Maui and just cool, weird little sets of games they play against very unusual opponents, usually
Preseason tournaments, yeah.
completely out of completely out of conference, preseason tournaments,
Yeah.
etc. After Christmas, everyone goes away and then comes back. I'm sure they're practicing the whole time, but they're not really engaged in any kind of competitive basketball. Um, and then the season really begins, and then shortly after the second season starts, they go into conference play, and that's an interesting time because you start to see a lot of there were a lot of undefeated teams before conference play,
Mm-hmm. True.
but nobody's going through the conferences, the good conferences anyway, undefeated. So everyone, even the undefeated teams, are starting to get 1 and 2 losses, and
Mm-hmm.
um, and that's a really cool stretch where you start to get a sense of who's really bad and who's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And you've also seen teams improve. So a lot of teams definitely were shaky in December, November, and they look a lot better in January, February. So there's an improvement that goes on entering season two. And then season three for me is conference tournaments and the NCAA tournament together is kind of like its own little, because that's even entirely different basketball where it's just more intense. Everyone's playing more intense defense, and I don't know. It's win or go home. There's just a lot more on it. So I'm excited that we're deep into we're squarely in the middle of season two now, and you're starting to get a sense of there's still movement around the top 25, but for the
Mm-hmm.
most part, most of the teams that are in the top 25 are going to stay there most of the way, and you
You know,
get
we
to
talked
see
about
it's
we
good.
talked about with college football. This happened also in the NIL transfer portal era, where if you looked at the preseason top 25, it made absolutely no difference to what the final top 25 looked like. Other than Ohio
Right.
State and Georgia, it pretty much was like a complete wash. Everybody was in different places. There were contenders you didn't consider. No one would have picked Miami, Indiana in the final, that kind of thing. So I think it's even more so in basketball. I think if you looked at that preseason poll compared to where it is today and how much it's been scrambled from guys who were
Yes and no.
preseason number two and now they're 25, and there were guys
Yes
that
and
weren't
no, but
even.
but you have to go through a bunch of losses to get all the way down and out of the top 25. So, like Virginia lost and they went from 14 to 17. You know what I mean? In football, if you lose, you go from 14 to like 24
Mm-hmm.
or 20, or out of the top 25. So, especially if it's against an opponent who's not ranked. So, football, each loss is way more devastating. But you string a couple losses together in basketball, it's just as powerful as a loss in football. So,
One of the stories we'll talk about tonight, when we get a little bit later, we're going to get through some of the big stories in both leagues. Is are we going to see the days of the Cinderella ever again? Because we looked at last year's Final Four in basketball; it was four number one seeds, and so last year was incredibly predictable. Whereas this year, people feel it's a lot less predictable. You might get maybe two number one seeds and two, 12s or nines, something like that. Do you think we're going to see the day of the Cinderella anymore, or is it going to be, just guys at the top of the
I
power
do.
conference?
I do. In basketball, of course. The reason is the 3-point can be such a dagger. I mean, if a team that's not great is hitting like crazy, they can put a lot of pressure on a superior team and make them start to get out of sorts and play badly. And it doesn't really happen in football. I mean,
Like
the
UMBC
Cinderella,
against Virginia. I mean, that was
yeah, I
a
mean,
good
that
example of
comes
it.
to mind, but there are many examples where a team plays tight because they're supposed to blow them out and they're fighting and they're down by 4 late in the second half. They're like, this shouldn't be happening. And they start to panic and they're looking past this team a little bit and they're worried. And then they start to realize, oh my gosh, these guys are
Yeah,
fighting tooth and nail. We might lose this game, and then you start
that's
to
right.
doubt. So, you know,
My biggest theme in college basketball this year, I've noticed, is that it's becoming more and more like the NBA. I mean, it's really
yeah,
becoming more of a pro style league, and people are taking a lot more threes. The scores are a lot higher than they used to be. Virginia scored the other day 197. So it just, I'm noticing that more and more. You're getting a lot higher scores. You're getting less defense. You're getting more 3-point shots.
you
You're
know what's
getting more
interesting?
design plays to get easy buckets, that kind of thing.
You know what's interesting? When I started doing research for this a couple weeks ago, um, I started to realize something that college football and college basketball are very different now
Hmm.
because even though college basketball is emulating the NBA in a lot of ways, a lot of the stars in college basketball are freshmen.
Hmm.
That you cannot say that in football.
That's true.
There's an occasional quarterback who goes to a really good team and gets to start like Julian saying, but the average team does not have very many freshmen on the field.
That's true.
It's seniors, it's fifth years, it's sixth years, it's grad transfers, and
There's
so
some.
what happens is the freshmen start at the littler schools, do well for a year or two, transfer to the bigger school, get a big payday, and start,
Mhm.
probably right away at a Michigan as a junior or senior, and they maybe even preserved a year of eligibility, so they might plan to go a grad year. But all these teams that I'm looking at in college, a ton of them have super important players. Top player on the team or second best player on the team are freshmen,
Mhm.
and that's different. That's very different because
So the
these are kids.
similarities I see between college basketball and NBA, the similarities are more threes, higher scores,
Mhm.
more professional staffs on a lot of these clubs,
Yeah,
those kind of things. But some of the differences I still see with college basketball is they do a lot more timeouts with X's and O's, drawing up
yeah.
plays. There's a lot more full court pressure in college basketball. You don't really see that in the NBA. There's no full court pressure unless you're in a desperate situation. But a lot of college teams do it, and like Virginia does it this year, almost every play.
There's
And
still a
so
little
there's
more
still
concentration
some
on
differences. Yeah,
still a little more concentration on defense in college basketball,
true.
and more team play. There's a lot less ISO ball.
Hmm. Right.
If you're doing a lot of ISO, you're kind of letting your team down.
They're running a lot more plays in college than they are in the pros. In some ways, it makes
Yeah,
college more interesting. I think.
I
I
think so
think that.
too. I think
I
it's more of
think,
a team game.
and because of that, because they're running more plays, the coaches in college mean more than they do in the pros. The NBA coaches are just not as important as the college
I agree.
coaches.
Yeah.
So, so those are some of the similarities and differences I've seen in the NBA game this year. I think it's been pretty good. The product's been good. I know
Yeah.
I follow the Hornets a lot, and they're the hottest team in the NBA in January. They have the number one offense, the number three defense, and they're the number one net rating team in the month of January. This is
And they
after
have
a
the
report
number
of this
one
year.
they have the number one rookie,
Right, right. So
Canupa.
they're playing great, and then you've got teams like Detroit Pistons that have been really surprising and really good. And of course, we thought the Spurs would be good, but they're even better than we thought they would be.
Hmm.
So they're really, really good. And the defending champs are fantastic. You mentioned Boston being kind of a surprise that they might
Surprisingly,
be
yeah.
this good. So,
Because everyone thinks they're washed and they're old and they're Jason Tatum's hurt and they should be belly up, but they're awesome. They're in second place. and Jaylen Brown's really leading the way, and so
And you
there
have
have
some
been some
teams.
surprises.
There's some teams
Toronto,
that really
yeah,
bottomed out. You had the Indiana Pacers in the finals last year, and they have
yeah,
completely bottomed out this year. So
yeah.
it's
That's just strange.
it's surprising. But
Yeah.
let's go dive in. We're going to take a look at the standings in all these different leagues. We're going to kick it off with the NBA. So here we go.
All right.
All right, let's do a shout out to our sponsor for tonight, and that is Jersey Mike's. Jersey Mike's is a longtime sponsor of the program. We love Jersey Mike's. Matter of fact, a quick anecdote, over the weekend we had a huge ice storm in North Carolina, and I survived on Jersey Mike's. I had multiple sandwiches I had ordered. So, Robbie, what do you think of Jersey Mike's, and what about your family?
Well, I'm always talking about the 17, the steak sandwich. I love it. The famous Philly. This we I went Saturday after the boys' basketball game, and everyone loaded up. We got buffalo chicken wrap. That's my girlfriend's favorite. I have my 17. Boys got different variations of turkey, and we took Uncle Bill there. So everybody
Mhm.
got something different, and it was so good. Really fantastic place. I mean, when I walk in there, I know it's going to taste good, and it's going to be an awesome lunch. And we get dinner there too, but we really like to go there after the boys' games.
That's great. Yeah, Jersey Mike's, it's so fresh. The people are so friendly. You can order it
Yeah.
on the app. You can order it online on the website. You can have it DoorDashed or Uber Eats to you. Go check out Jersey Mike's today and get yourself a sub and really enjoy it. I know that I love the number 13. Rob loves the 17. Tell us what you guys think.
It's just a really well-run place, and
Yes,
they have a good brand and a really good product. And as a customer, they they check all the boxes. They're
they do.
great.
They do. It's delicious. So go check it out today and remember it's a sub above.
Up above.
All right, so NBA standings on the Eastern Conference. We mentioned the Detroit Pistons with Cade Cunningham. They've been, coming up the last couple of years. Last year they came in fourth, so it's not like a complete shock, but no one saw them coming in at 34 and 11 at this point in the season. And they've put a nice nucleus around Cade Cunningham. What's happened to them is the same thing that happened to Oklahoma City, which was they had about 4 or 5 good drafts in a row. And once you
Yeah.
pile all that talent up, all of a sudden those guys start developing and coming along. And all of a sudden, Cade is surrounded by a really good team. So, thoughts about the
And
Pistons?
they're all still pretty young together.
Yeah,
That's what's interesting.
right. They can get better. That's the other crazy thing.
You're a veteran at some point in your third, fourth year, but you're not an old veteran. You're still in your prime, entering your prime, really.
Any surprise for you on the Pistons this year?
Not really. Cade Cunningham is the story. They're 34 and 11. They're just a fantastic group that's been put together. They're tough, and they pride themselves on good defense, good scoring. They rely a lot on Cunningham, but
Mhm.
it's a very good team.
It
They
is.
definitely have good rebounding, and they're a tough team to. I wouldn't want to play them really.
No, I wouldn't either. They're going to be really tough to beat in a 7 game series. I'll tell you that.
Hmm.
The Knicks and Boston Celtics both tied at 29 and 18, both in very good position. Knicks have played really, really well. They've put a solid team together and
Yeah,
have had one for a while now. Their
yeah. It's
problem
been a
is
couple of years. They're always right, like near the top, but seems like it's all clicking for them together now.
the problem with the Knicks the last couple of years has been they've had these great runs like they are this year, and then they get into the playoffs and they flame out. They're kind of like the Baltimore
Yeah,
Ravens of
yeah. Their shooting
pro
goes away, and
basketball.
their defense looks weak. Yeah,
So can
it's
they
weird.
do anything? Do you think this year? Can they actually be a playoff contender?
I don't
Uh,
know. I mean, a lot depends on Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns,
yeah,
and we will have to see. But they've kind of taken their foot off the gas going into the playoffs in the last few years. Maybe they can find a way to go over the top with it.
yeah, that's right. Celtics, like you said, without Jason Tatum, have found a way to still be relevant, which is really impressive.
Surprising.
Everyone thought they'd probably make the playoffs, but be kind of a
Hmm.
fade away, maybe one and done type team. So they've been surprising. Our boy Cole's Toronto Raptors, they've been playing great this year. They've had some weird
Yeah.
stretches where they'll win 4 or 5 in a row and then they'll lose 4 or 5 in a row. So they've been a little inconsistent, but they're still in pretty good position in fourth. The Cleveland Cavaliers, who won the East last year in the regular season, everyone was thinking this might be their year, and they've been good, but there's been some things exposed there. I know they let Ty Jerome go and let a couple of other pieces go, and they just haven't been quite as sharp as last year, although Donovan Mitchell is still an all-star. But
He's awesome.
thoughts about why Cleveland seems to have fallen off a little bit?
Well, I think maybe they're not as deep as they've been the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
They're very reliant on Donovan Mitchell. He's
Mhm.
averaging 29.5 points a game and 5.8 assists. So he's a big part of their attack. And I think the teams that aren't as reliant on one player tend to do better over a long stretch. And I think that I don't know if he's the guy that can carry them all the way through to the finals, but they're a very good team, 28-20. So
I like their bigs too.
yeah.
Philadelphia 76ers, they get absolutely brutalized on sports radio in Philly. And they've been talking about the last 2 or 3 years, this team they can never stay healthy. They always break down towards the end of the season. They're always kind of mediocre. They barely get into the playoffs, and then they don't really do very much. They might win a series, but for the most part, they lose round one. And there are a lot of people saying they're kind of in purgatory because they can never get a high draft pick because they always
They're stuck.
the playoffs.
They're stuck in upper mediocrity.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Mhm.
So that's not where you want to be. What do you do about that? How do you construct this roster to either go on a run, which they never seem to be able to do because they can't stay healthy, or do you just bottom out and try to get a number one pick? I don't know.
I always go for depth. I want as deep a team as possible because your players will push each other, and you will be able to survive injuries more easily, and you tend to be able to rotate guys out when they're in foul trouble, and so I want depth more than I want a superstar.
That's true.
I think the deepest teams are the ones who are slated to go pretty deep in the playoffs.
So another team that everyone thought might contend for the East this year is Orlando. They had a fantastic year last year. They got to the second round of the playoffs, played really well. Banchero is the guy they're building around.
He's the man.
He had that magical season last year, and then this year he just hasn't played as well. He's been
but he's still leading the team in points,
leading the team,
assists, and rebounds.
But the big headline out of Orlando is what's wrong with Banchero, and what they mean is they're used to him being otherworldly, and he's not this year. He's just good,
Well, so, they're too reliant on him too.
Yeah, they don't have enough depth, I don't think.
No,
really contend.
No. But I mean, anytime a player is leading in all the major categories, then he's a star, and you gotta. But the other team knows this, and they're gonna do everything they can to do lots of double teams. And
it feels like Orlando and 76ers are in the same spot. They're just kind of like upper mediocrity.
They can't go further with the roster they have. They need some change.
So the Charlotte Hornets, the hottest team in the East, they've been rising and rising and rising. Matter of fact, Charles Barkley yesterday said, watch the Hornets. They're his dark horse. And he said he doesn't just think they're going to end up making the playoffs, but he thinks they might make some noise in the playoffs. Like they put that nice young core together. So obviously, as a Hornets fan, I'm excited about that idea. But any thoughts about the Hornets and their prospects going in the rest of the season?
I think they have some really nice pieces now, and everybody's overlooked them for the last couple of years as they've been building this thing. And you add a Concanupo, and then you've already got one of the most exciting players in the league, Ball, and
they got Brandon Miller.
He's
really good.
Yeah, and they've added really good pieces over the last couple of years, and they're meshing well together. I think they've added good pieces that fit together, not just individually go ISO, but good hard-nosed guys that can have different nights where they shine.
And they have two centers now, and it's really nice to have two centers because you can just switch them in and out and keep them both rested. That's been nice to see.
Keep them fresh, keep them out of foul trouble.
So the two other teams to talk about here, the Milwaukee Bucks, if you look at Rob's background, that's Giannis. He won a championship a couple years ago. and they've just been kind of fading ever since. And he doesn't have the core he used to have around him. And now yesterday, the official news was he's demanded a trade. And apparently he's one of the few NBA players in the entire league that actually has a trade clause in his contract, where after a certain number of years, he can actually demand a trade. So apparently they're going to have to honor his request. So thoughts there, Robbie, on where you think he might end up, and do you think that trade gets done?
I think there's a good chance that he stays, actually. They're very incentivized to keep him because the Bucks spent a lot of money on stadium and there's a massive complex around the stadium, apparently, and it's very much dependent, and the Bucks own all of that. So they're very dependent on the ticket sales and game days, and they got to have a superstar. If you were to trade him for Karl Anthony Towns, I'm not sure you would increase ticket sales in any stretch. So they got to work this out. I think
work it out, but I think that whether he gets traded during the season this year, it may not happen, but I think he will end up getting traded at least in the offseason, because I think he wants to chase rings, and he doesn't see it happening in Milwaukee.
Oh no, I think it would be almost easier to go get people to come join him than it would be to trade him and get somebody of almost equal value and not be dramatically worse the following
because the
year.
NBA draft, you talk about a crapshoot. You really don't know how these guys are going to turn out.
I know.
Yeah.
Half of them are like from Serbia. Blah, blah. Like, I've never heard of this guy. It's not all just from college.
Speaking of that, another thing I noticed that's becoming similar in college is that a lot of the players are foreign. It used to be the foreign players would go straight to the NBA, but a lot of them now are choosing to go. Like on Virginia has a couple guys this year that are from the European Pro League.
Belgium, Germany,
And so that's an interesting development now. The NBA isn't getting all the foreign players now. College is getting a lot of them too. So it's interesting.
Well, because everybody wants to stay in college where money's getting thrown at these guys.
I was going to say, now that there's NIL,
it's a safer environment with NIL.
You can develop. DeRitter is really developing this year.
So. And let's face it, if you're not in line to become a star, you're in line to go G League, you're not going to make a lot of money.
It's true.
Very,
very true.
So I'd rather stay in college than go G League.
So last team to talk here is the Indiana Pacers, who had a championship roster last year and have been one of the worst teams in basketball this year. And everyone's kind of scratching their head. Of course, they lost their best player, and he's been recovering from a really terrible injury. But you would think one player wouldn't do this to them, where their record's completely flipped. So
they're having a hard time.
Thoughts about the Pacers and
last couple of years, you've seen them struggle with him. So I think that
except for the magical run last year, they go to the finals.
Yeah, no, they've had some success. I don't think they ever really stood a chance.
We know how good their coach is. We talked about their coach. We know him very well. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen a team that was this one player dependent, where their entire season was blown up by him getting injured. So.
Yeah. Well, that speaks to how deep of a team they have and what level of talent the roster is. It's not a good enough roster.
It's true. So looking at the top of the West, OKC, the champs, up at top again. They've been playing great. Almost better than last year, some people think. In a lot of their categories.
They've had a few struggles lately. They've had a couple
losses. Had a couple losses, but I mean,
they started the season unbeatable.
Yeah,
and then they've shown a little weakness as of late.
38-10. They won last night.
Yeah,
Spurs are in second. Had a really fantastic year. Of course, Wemby, in a lot of ways, is almost as famous or as followed as SGA is for OKC. You've got Jokic on the Denver Nuggets. They're in third. Those three teams are just powerhouses. I mean, any of those three can come out of the West. That's the way I look at it. Houston Rockets have also improved a lot this year. They added Kevin Durant. So they had that great roster last year that made a nice playoff run, and they added Durant to it. So they have a really nice team.
I like Houston. I do.
Me too. They have a lot of young players too. They're coming along. LA Lakers, of course. The big question this year, Robbie, is this LeBron's last year? A lot of other teams think it is because they're starting to give him tributes. And last night they did one in Cleveland, and they were acting like it
Yeah.
was the last time he was going to play in Cleveland. And he was crying, and they did this whole tribute up on the scoreboard for 15 minutes. What's
Yeah.
your, what's your thought? Is
That's
he?
interesting.
He hasn't announced it, but do you think this is his last ride?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think when it all comes down, he's going to say, I'm really just a basketball player. Like, I'm not really killing it in acting. I don't really have my next thing lined up
Well, he has a lot
so
of
much.
business ventures, and they say
He
that he
does have
might want to go.
businesses, and
Yeah,
that would be why he would leave. But I'm
yeah.
not convinced that he's at the end of the line. I think he's very far along, but I
Hmm.
wouldn't be surprised if he wants to stick around just a little longer for Bronny
So, why do you think that all these teams are doing the tributes on the scoreboard? And thank you so much for all the years. And
because they're not sure, and
okay,
it's a good storyline. It's an emotional.
and it was in Cleveland. That's his hometown. He
I was
grew
in
up there.
Cleveland, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch that all year. I
I
personally
have
think it
heard
is
there's been some theories that he might finish his career in Cleveland.
maybe, maybe. I think this is his
Ronnie
last season. I just have a feeling that he has so many other ventures that are going that I think this is going to be it. He already has a little tiny piece
maybe.
of the Lakers as well. So
I
he'll be,
think if he leaves basketball, it's going to be to stay in basketball and
yeah,
coach. Yeah.
coach
I don't think he wants to leave or be a commentator. I
or
don't
be
think
an
he wants
owner.
to leave basketball.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah,
he might want to step down, take a rest,
yeah.
retire, and then move into, something else, broadcasting or
One,
something.
one interesting thing to say is that their roster has been playing a lot better this season. Last year, they barely made it into the
Yeah,
play-in tournament. This year,
they're
they're
better.
sitting in fifth, and he and Doncic have seemed to build a little rapport, which has been nice to see.
Yeah.
And they have some other really nice young players that are coming up. So,
They still
I
have
think,
inexplicable games like yesterday where just all of a sudden they just stop playing and the other
right.
team goes on a run. They had it kind of in hand and then they lose the game.
I will
But
say that they have worked really
still
hard in
lose.
the last 2 years to have the older veterans and have mixed in a lot of nice 1 and 2 year players. So
Yeah.
they've got a nice mix on that roster. So,
I mean, Luka's doing a really nice job. I mean, he's averaging 33.8 points and 8.8 assists. He's a team player.
right,
He's not very good at defense. I don't think he'll ever be very good at defense, but neither was Magic Johnson.
right.
So that's not the first time that's happened. But I think he's a really nice piece offensively, and I think he'd be a good guy to be on the team with. I think he's a pretty decent guy.
Mhm. So the Timberwolves are a really solid team. They're next. They came in third last year. They're a little bit below where they were expecting this year. Still having a pretty solid season. Got a good roster. Another team to mention here, Golden State Warriors, are sitting there in the play-in at eighth. They've been desperately looking for a way to change their fortunes this year and try to land a big fish. And so they've already stated that if Giannis is truly available, they might go for Giannis and try to make him their center. So expect Golden State
Yeah,
to try to make a big splash before the end of the year.
yeah. I saw that about an hour before coming on
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
That there's a hard push underway for Golden State.
that's right.
I just have
Ellie,
a feeling though he's staying. He's staying in Milwaukee. I don't know why.
he might be. He might be. I think he's going to get
I
traded personally.
I could see the wisdom in trading him and him being traded from his standpoint would be good. But I also think he's been a very loyal guy
That's
uh,
right.
overall, and he's always signed his extensions, and he's always been
Hmm.
thankful, and
Hmm.
so I don't think he's just chasing money. I think he's very
Right.
thoughtfully. If he's going to make a change, he's going to put a lot of thought into it.
The Clippers, they feel a little bit like the Hornets this year on the West side because they had an abysmal start. I mean, really, really bad. And they've got a really good roster. And now lately they've become the hottest team in the West. I mean, they've really been killing people lately and really playing up to their potential. So it looks like they're rising right now. And then,
I kind of like their balanced roster.
yeah, I like it too. I like it too.
A lot of them have different level. Like they have assists coming from a bunch of different places. They have scoring coming from different places. They defend pretty well. Um,
They feel
they're
like
not on
they could
fire, but it feels like they're turning some kind of a corner.
feel like they could shock somebody in one of the first or
Yeah.
second rounds. Like they really could pull
Yeah.
off a big upset.
Because they're 22 and 24. Like it's not a
Mhm.
very good, it's not a great record, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like they're better than their record.
But after their start, it's a great record.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They had a bad start to it all.
So probably the two most surprising teams in the West, the Dallas Mavericks. There was a lot of fanfare around, the big rookie that they drafted #1, and also this already pretty good roster they had with a lot of guys who have rings and
Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis and
Yeah.
and now the new Cooper Flag pick and
Just
they
hasn't
just
meshed well.
it hasn't meshed well, and it's really almost from the first game of the year. It just has been off. It
Yeah.
just hasn't looked good. And what is your thought about that? I mean, they often have had a full slate of people. They got the Russell Westbrooks of the world. They've got, you know, um, other really experienced players that have a lot of playoff experience, and yet they can't seem to put it together this year.
I think there's a really fine line between first and, 12th or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And I feel like for 11th, there's not a huge difference. There's little differences that show up and give you significant amount of wins over your opponents. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not that Oklahoma City is no longer bulldozing everybody. They've been losing some, and then now they're winning a little more, so they're kind of getting back on the track. But they were winning big early on.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the teams that are at the top there, I wouldn't say they're dramatically better than Dallas, but they just are consistently not. They're playing well together as a team. I think a lot of it's coaching, like
Maybe.
pulling the right strings, putting in the right lineups, letting guys who are hot, get the ball, get the hot
If you
hand
look,
going.
if you look at their wins and losses this year, they're winning against the bad teams. Like
Yeah,
3 nights ago they beat the Utah Jazz. That they should beat the Utah Jazz, but then when they go
yeah,
play OKC Thunder, they lose by 25. So it just doesn't look like they can compete right now at the top.
yeah, yeah. There's just enough of a difference where it gets away from you over a course of 4 quarters,
Hmm.
because the NBA is just different.
So the other
It's
surprising team was the New Orleans Pelicans. They were chosen #7 in preseason,
uh,
and they've just bottomed out. And they have a healthy Zion. They've got Trey Murphy. They've got some real nice pieces there, and they had a nice playoff run a year ago, and then all of a sudden something happened this year. They just imploded. They're kind of like the Indiana Pacers of the West. So what's your take there? Why is it that
yeah.
this lineup they've
I don't
been
have a
trying
lot
to
of
have healthy, and then they finally have it healthy, and now it sucks?
I don't have much of a take on why
Yeah.
New Orleans is bad at. The only thing I'd say is they don't mesh well, and they're
Hmm.
not putting it all together on a nightly basis. One guy might be shooting well, but they let somebody else on the other team go crazy.
Hmm.
Um, Defense might not be there. I'm not sure, honestly. They're
Hmm.
they're an enigma to me because they have talented players, but they're not a good team, and you can see it
Hmm.
quickly by watching them. They're just not very good.
I did notice that they were the third lowest scoring team on the Western side, and you know how the
Yeah,
NBA is today. Everything's in the 120s and 130s, and
yeah,
they just don't score enough points, you know, to compete.
yeah. If you
So
look, they're the third worst point differential. So that means they're consistently scoring less than their opponent
yeah,
by
that's right.
6.8 points,
That's
which
right.
is pretty bad. You
And you
know,
see how bad Sacramento is right ahead of them.
yeah,
They're really
yeah,
abysmal this year. So let's talk about some of the midseason trends. These are a couple storylines we're going to go through. First one is, are the defending champs vulnerable? In looking at OKC, you talked about how they had that hot start, and then lately they seem to come a little bit down to earth. The question is, can they hold on to the #1 spot, or are they going to get passed by the Spurs or the Denver Nuggets? What do you think?
I think the Spurs are breathing down their neck. I do think they're going to hold on to it though.
I do
I
too.
feel like OKC is a really legitimate team,
When it comes
and
vulnerable, I don't think it's vulnerable in the regular season, but vulnerable, could they lose deep in the playoffs? Yeah, potentially.
yeah. But are they going to lose a long series? Probably not.
I think
Not
you're right.
until the finals.
I think you're right. They look awfully good to me. I don't know.
Yeah, same,
So,
same.
so next story is who's the favorite in the East? We talked about the Pistons. Of course, they've got some competition with the Knicks and the Celtics. Who do you think is going to take the East?
Um, I like those top three teams, and I like Toronto too. I think those top four teams:
Mhm.
Toronto, the Knicks, the Celtics, and Detroit. Those are the
Mhm.
four that should be fighting, and see who can weather the storm and get themselves in.
It might just come
In
down to
good
who's the
position.
healthiest the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah,
It really might.
yep. Healthy, who's hot, who's shooting well, who's
Mhm.
working well together, who's not fouling but like playing good defense.
I think the prohibitive favorite, if you were to walk to the window in Vegas today, would be the Detroit Pistons. It looks like they might be able to get the number one seed.
I think it's going to come
We'll
down to
see.
Detroit and Boston. Those
Mhm.
two, and
Mhm.
I'm not really out on much of a limb, but I think that those two are going to be the most
Mhm.
competitive down the stretch.
And do you agree that the East again is the weaker conference? This
Yeah,
is true the last 5 years.
yeah, but
So
not maybe not as much as in the past.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. Every time we see an Eastern team go up in the finals, they typically are getting blown out lately. So
Yeah,
who's lurking as a surprise contender? He's got Minnesota Timberwolves as one. He mentions the Clippers and Kawhi Leonard playing at an All-Star level
yeah,
again.
yeah. Clippers look good.
So this
Their
is just
record isn't good, but they
who the
look
dark
good.
horses. I would add the Charlotte Hornets to that list. I agree with Charles Barkley.
Maybe. I
Maybe
think
the maybe the
Houston's
Lakers,
one.
maybe Houston.
I
Yep.
said I said that at the beginning of the season.
I could see Houston. I
And
could see the Lakers making a final push for LeBron if he decides this is it.
yeah,
Kind of emotionally trying to do that for him.
and Phoenix is feisty.
And here was the other question we have already talked a little bit about: what's wrong with Banchero? And I think this is his third season, so it's not a sophomore slump, but I think it's a situation where a lot of people do film study and they figured him out a little bit, and they're double teaming him a lot. He doesn't have
Yeah,
a
it's
lot
not
of
even
a lot
him.
of guys on
It's
his
just
team. You know.
his team isn't very talented. So
Yeah.
if you double him up and you get him a little rattled and get him out of his element,
Hmm.
his numbers aren't going to be as good. So there's nothing really wrong with him. I think if he
Yeah.
had another player to go to, if he had a Luca or somebody on his team with him, he'd be able to dish the ball on cold nights and have somebody else carry it. But
Did you notice, like 10 years ago, you had to have two superstars, and today, if you're going to compete for the finals, you almost have to have three superstars. It's getting
no,
like more and more now.
I think the big three started a long time ago.
Yeah, the big three. And
Um,
Paulo Banchero doesn't have the big three. Let's just be honest.
he doesn't even have two.
I know. Yeah,
He's
so
a one man show.
he is. He really is. So this is kind of interesting. Who is the defensive player of the year other than Victor Wembanyama? I mean, it's pretty clear. I think he's going to get that. You have a couple of these other guys that are in consideration. Holmgren, who's a fantastic defender for OKC. Scotty Barnes, Amen Thompson, Rudy Gobert has been great every single year. Adebayo for the Miami Heat. Evan Mobley for Cleveland. So I think it's clear Wembanyama is going to get it. Who would be your number two?
I don't know. Probably maybe Holmgren
Yeah, maybe.
or Gobert.
Maybe Rudy Gobert for me.
Yeah.
He alters the shot so many times. And Bam Adebayo, when he gets rolling, he can really be great too.
Yeah, he's good too.
Yeah. Let's see the next one here. So the big questions around trades, we talked about Giannis. Are there any other big trades that you're thinking might happen? We already had the Trae Young trade to the Washington Wizards. That was a huge deal. It kind of shook up the landscape because he was one of the big guys who was available as Atlanta's rebuilding.
I haven't heard that much about trade talks other than Giannis. Giannis has
There's,
been dominating the news cycle.
there's not a lot. I mean, they even said there's a 1% chance you might see LeBron go to Golden State. I mean, that's a real possibility. But I don't think when they're in playoff push, they're going to trade him. I just don't see that. And they're right in the mix. So,
It would be hard to imagine.
yeah.
It'd be hard to imagine.
His contract's over at the end of this year, so if he does want to play another year, he can probably go anywhere he wants. I would think.
I would say the only trade I could see LeBron doing is to go back to Cleveland because they're in it. They're in the race.
Mhm.
And he wants to go out, be loved by his home city. And
And the East is a little easier, right?
I don't think he likes being second fiddle to Luca. He doesn't hate
Mhm.
it, and he likes Luca, but I think he's kind of like, this isn't my
Mhm.
dream.
Here's some of the other guys that they're saying are available: Sadiq Bey, because New Orleans has bottomed out; Dosunmu for the Bulls; Sharp with the Nets because the Nets are terrible; Utah
Mhm.
Jazz, and the Dallas Mavericks. All those guys might be looking to get picks and continue to build their offseason roster. So, guys, drop us
Yeah.
a comment who you think are some of the real trade targets that actually might happen this year. So, in terms of most under the radar star who might get traded in the next 6 months, I agree with what he's saying here. Adebayo seems like he's been in Miami forever and might get shipped out. They need to build some picks there. They continue to
Mhm.
be in that purgatory situation. And he still has value right now. He's really an asset that people would want to trade for. So we'll see. Most valuable player since Thanksgiving is Kawhi Leonard.
Yes, he's been great.
I agree with that. He has been great. And SGA has always been great, but he's cooled off just a tiny bit since the
Yeah.
All-Star break.
How about Cade Cunningham?
Cade Cunningham, man, he's great this year.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
How about Victor Wembanyama?
Yeah,
I mean, you know,
it's true.
think about what he adds to his team.
It's very true. So, most intriguing trio that can tilt the Eastern Conference. This is what I was saying: is that it doesn't seem to me like any of the Eastern teams right now have a real threesome. I know Joel Embiid has been waiting for it for a long time in Philly. Boston, of course, is dealing without Jason Tatum right now. Um, Part of the reason why I believe Detroit's so good this year is because they don't have a whole lot of competition who has a threesome.
Yeah.
So we'll see what other teams might be able to put one together. What about Jokic? Do you feel like his window is closing or still open?
I think it's open, but he doesn't have a whole lot of help either.
I mean, every year it seems like he's the MVP, but that doesn't mean his team's going to win it.
I don't like when a player is leading in all three of the major offensive categories
That's true.
or in, scoring, rebounding and assists.
You don't,
I don't
you
want
don't
one
think
player to have all that.
you don't think Denver will ever let him out of there? I wouldn't think so.
No.
There'd be no amount of trades value you could give them or picks or
No, I don't think
it'd
so.
be like 10 players and 5 picks or something.
The only way you could do it is if you said, okay, he's reaching the end soon, so let's get players that'll be good in the future.
That's right. Well, let's shift gears over to college basketball. Let's take a look at the Atlantic Coast Conference. Right now, Duke sitting in first. They're 8-0. They're having a fantastic year. They're 19-1 overall, which is really incredible. They have had a couple close calls that they've had to pull out at the last minute. But for the most part, they're just cruising. You've got Shire, who continues to have his top 5 recruiting classes every year and be really active in the portal and bring a lot of great guys in. But of course, bringing in the 2 freshman phenom brothers, the Boozer brothers, has
Mhm.
been a big boon for them this year. What's your thought about the
Again,
Duke Blue Devils?
another illustration of how in college basketball right now there are impactful freshmen all over the country. Yeah, I mean, Carlos Boozer, Cameron Boozer, Carlos Boozer's son, is absolutely killing it. He's a great leader for Duke. No surprise, rolls right in there as a freshman, picks up where others left off. 23.5 points, 9.9 rebounds, and 4.1 assists, leading the team in all three categories, just like Cooper Flagg did last year.
Is there any reason to think they're not a contender? I'm talking like a Final Four contender.
Um, I don't like how young they are. I never feel like they're suited to go on a long run because of that. But Cameron Boozer is one of the best players in the country, so
I
I
can't
would love to
see
have
any
him.
reason why. I don't know if they'll make it, but I can't see any reason why they couldn't make it to the Final Four. I mean, they have all the
Yeah,
pieces.
they could. They
They're
sure could.
young, but well coached,
They're
really
young. I
talented.
think they're going to tighten up during the tournament, and we'll see. Hopefully,
So
they can.
number two, you got Clemson Tigers. They've had maybe their best season ever. They've been
Yep.
absolutely fantastic this year. Seven
Yeah,
and
they're
one
good.
and 17-4 overall. They've reached the top 20 several times. Now they're at 22. Well coached, playing really good ball, and have a really good team atmosphere in that group. So thoughts on Clemson?
Yeah, I mean, second in the ACC is one of the best seasons they've had. They are, RJ Godfrey is a senior
Mm-hmm.
forward. He's averaging 12 points a game. They mix it around really well. They play extremely well at home, and
Mm-hmm.
they've got a lot of contributors. They're reasonably deep,
Mm-hmm.
and 17-4, I guess, is their overall record.
They're a tough out.
Yeah, they are a tough team that, we'll see tournament time, but I think they're a very solid program this year.
So number three are Virginia Cavaliers. They've been named one of the top four most surprising teams this year by Ken Palm. I've got my Virginia sweatshirt on here. Really happy and proud of them this year and how they've played. This is a completely new constructed roster by a new coach, Ryan Odom, who comes over from ODU and VCU and UMBC, those three teams that he coached and took to the tournament. And
Yeah.
really is a fantastic coach. We knew we were getting a good one. He's actually the one who knocked us off when he was a 16 and we were a one a couple of
Hmm.
years back, very painfully. But
That hurt.
what has surprised you the most about this 6-2, 17-3 team?
The depth of the team that he recruited. We pretty much started from scratch with him, and the fact that he turned over his roster pretty dramatically, and he's got height, guys who can go inside. They like to run. He plays a completely different style. So not only did he change players, but he changed styles from what Virginia fans were used to.
I mean, Virginia's watching these 100-point scores, and Virginia fans had never seen this before in
No,
30
I
or
know.
40 years.
Because the other team's scoring 97. So it's
Right.
a high scoring extravaganza like you have in the NBA.
It is.
Scoring 100 points in college is something else because it's in less time than you have in the NBA,
That's right.
you know?
So they play a really fast-paced style. They run and gun. They shoot a lot of threes, and they have a lot of guys who can hit the three. I noticed there are a lot of really good shooters on this team.
Yeah.
They do have some rim protectors, some really tall guys. Two of them are from Europe. Interestingly, they both have played European pro ball before,
Mhm.
so that was really interesting. Owensu is also a foreign player, but he's played in the U.S. for the last couple of years. And they have a lot of really nice role players with Tillis and Thomas and Hall and a lot of guys out there. And of course, the phenom freshman Mallory, who a lot of people think may be in the runner-up to freshman of the year behind the Boozers. So
I
only
don't know.
weakness.
There's so many good freshmen out there this year. I don't know about that,
One
but he
weakness I
is
see
good.
with the Cavaliers is their defense isn't what we're used to, and also their
Mhm.
transition defense.
Yeah.
UNC really exploited that a lot because they have so
Yep.
many guys to crash the boards.
Yeah, the loss to UNC really showed them a weakness, I think.
What do
They
you
were
think they
giving
need
up a
to
lot
tighten
of
up?
transition layups.
What do you think they need to tighten up before March?
Well, I think you and I talked about it. They got to send one guy back on defense instead of all five trying to get offensive rebounds,
Mm-hmm.
um, because they were getting burned getting back there. And they're plenty athletic and quick enough because they do full court press all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like they're they're a very athletic team, but they're susceptible to a lot of run and gun.
I will say I really do like watching the press. I think it's a really cool thing. And
Yeah,
you always complained in the Bennett years that we only were like 7 or 8 deep, and he's running like
yeah,
a 14-man rotation
yeah,
because of the press.
12, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good because I always was pulling my hair out with what it's like to play that kind of a hard defense when you don't have a lot of subs coming in to help give you
Hmm.
breathers. So uh, you got to have a deep team if you're going to play hard defense, and you want to have a big rotation. The only way to do that is to play them throughout the regular season. You can't reach the tournaments not having played people and throw them in there. That's not really fair to them. Um,
Well, you can imagine that when they play teams that don't have good ball handlers, it's going to be a bloodbath. They're going to get big leads.
that's right.
There are definitely some teams out there that don't have good guards. So,
And as the tournament goes on, depth becomes even more important
it does.
because if you're playing every other day and stuff like that, you're you're exhausted, you
Yeah.
know, and you got to be able to rotate your guys in more frequently, getting everybody playing time and but getting them rest.
So tied for fourth is Miami and NC State, both having really good years, both sitting at 6-2. Miami has been a little bit of a surprise this year. They were picked middle of the pack. They're sitting 6-2 and 17-4, and have some really good wins on their record already. Looking more and more like they're going to be a tournament team. So thoughts about the Hurricanes this year?
A lot of good athletes. They got a good coach, and obviously their program is getting flush with cash now. So
Yeah.
NIL's nice.
Yep.
But
Don't you
they
think
got
that
a
that
lot of
helps each
athletes.
other when you have football and basketball that are both good at the
Yeah.
same time? That
Oh
has to
yeah.
help. Yeah.
In the NIL era, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're a really solid team. They're exciting. They also are pretty high scoring, especially when they play a subpar team. And they run and gun where necessary, and they're really well coached. They're going to be a tough out as well. I will say, Robbie, the days of the ACC is not good anymore. It's just not true anymore. This is a year where the ACC is
Yeah.
really it's really really
I th-
good, really
yeah, I
deep.
mean I think it's just like football where, other than Duke, I think that some of the teams that haven't been as good the last few years have moved up. I mean, NC State is tough.
So NC
You don't
State's
really want
sitting
to
at
play them.
6-2.
SMU is tough.
Did you see this 6-2 coming when they fired their coach and got a new guy? I mean, usually it takes a year or two to transition.
Yeah, I think Will Wade is a good coach.
He is. He's really good. So did you see this kind of season
Hmm.
coming?
Um, yeah, I expect them to do well every year. I think they get a lot of good recruits. We're still in Tobacco Road here in Raleigh, so
Hmm.
um, yeah, I think Will Wade. Did I see it this year? I don't know. Maybe it's not shocking. No,
They're
but
a little
I
better
don't know.
than I expected. I thought they'd be kind of a 500 team. And they're a
Well,
little
but
better
they
than,
have some inexplicable bad games, so
yeah, they do.
there's still things to work on.
You think he can get them into the tournament this year? Because they always seem to be the one that's
I
one of the
don't know.
four out or something.
I don't know.
We'll
Maybe
see. We'll see. They got to keep it
they,
going. I'll tell you
they
that.
got to stay up there. Yeah, they
Yeah.
do.
SMU, a very good, solid team. I know Virginia
Yeah,
beat them at SMU, and that was a really tough game. And
real
they are
tough.
really, really solid, and they're a hard out. They're a very difficult team to beat. They play very solid, good ball,
Yeah.
good defense, good team ball, and they shoot well. They're another one of those teams that is just at the top of the ACC that could get in if they continue their progress here.
Mm-hmm.
North Carolina, of course, perennially great. They're sitting one spot above Virginia because they just beat Virginia in a really heartbreaking game for us. They have a lot of talent. We've seen some of that talent really developing recently and really becoming good, especially Wilson. I was really impressed with him in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts about the Tar Heels?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have some good youth. Caleb Wilson is one of the freshmen I'm talking about. Just
Mm-hmm.
unbelievable
He's
forward for
really good.
them. He's
Mm-hmm.
athletic, plays defense, scores. He's got moxie. He's a star. He's a 5-star blue chip awesome player, and He kind of reminds me of guys that Duke gets sometimes.
Hmm.
But yeah, he's leading the team in points and rebounds.
Hmm.
So 19.9 points and 10.1 rebounds per game. They have elite defense, and Caleb Wilson a a force.
It's true.
He's a young phenom.
Hmm. Very
So
true. I think
they're a
they're going
good
to get
squad.
in. I think they're going to get in. They had a little bit of a rough beginning. They lost a couple in the ACC, and
Yeah.
everybody was moaning in Tar Heel land, but they've really pulled it together, and now they're one of the best teams for sure.
Yeah, I think they're top four in the ACC. I
So
think they're headed that way.
two more teams to talk about that I think have tournament chances, and that's one is the Virginia Tech Hokies. They are sitting at 5-4, but they really should have a much better record. They had a stretch in early January where they lost three straight buzzer beaters. I've never seen that before. All three, one was from half court, and two were from way out, like 35 feet out. And I cannot imagine the heartbreak of three straight buzzer beaters. They
Yeah, one
lose.
was against SMU.
Yeah. Yeah. And yet this team has found a way to rebound, and they won their last game, and they haven't held their head down, and they're a really good team, man. They're solid.
They're good. I don't think it's tournament team, but I think they're a good
Yeah.
team.
Yeah, they beat Virginia, which was
But they're a spoiler. They're a spoiler.
yeah.
They'll beat tournament teams.
You can't sleep on the Hokies. They've got a good
No.
team. They're solid. And then the other team that's number 20 in the country, but is 4-4 in the league, is Louisville.
Hmm?
I know Ken Palm and all the experts believe they will be a tournament team in the end, and they really feel like they're loaded with talent, and they have one of the best point guards in the country.
Hmm.
Thoughts about
Yeah.
Louisville?
Ryan Conwell, senior
Hmm.
guard. He's awesome. He's one of the top players in the country. He's
Hmm.
fantastic. He's a very productive shooter. And he has come a long way in going to the rim, slashing, and shooting mid range. So he is a star.
He
He
is.
he averages 19.4 points a game,
Hmm.
and he contributes on the boards and does everything. So they're really good. Louisville's climbing. Um, they're at they're at 20, and I think they're a tournament team for
I
sure.
think they're going to be able to rise up the rankings here in the ACC because they're a little low right now.
Yeah, I think they got a lot of work to do to get up there, but they're better than Virginia Tech. They're better than
SMU, I think.
SMU.
Yeah. I think
They're bet. I think they're better than Clemson.
these nine teams have a shot at the tournament. And the question is going to
Yeah,
be which five or six get in out of these nine. That's going to be the question.
yeah.
And essentially, you just have to win in the tournament.
I think it'll be Duke, Carolina, Virginia, uh,
Clemson.
NC State, Clemson, and Louisville. Those three will decide. Two of them will go.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Clemson, Clemson, Louisville, and NC State. Two of those three will go.
I think you're right. I think SMU and Virginia Tech end up fading towards the end.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think we might get five or six in. Last year we got four.
Mhm.
So, well, let's look at the Big 12. Arizona's at the top. Houston's having a fantastic year. A lot of people think, just like they have the last 2 years gone to the Final Four, people think they might again make a run. Of course, they have a great coach in Sampson. Arizona's been consistently a top four team this year. They're really, really good. They've been ranked number one more than half of the weeks this year.
Yeah, they're
So
good.
looks to me like Big 12 is really good at the top. Of course, Texas Tech's very good. Kansas, Iowa State, BYU. They're saying this conference will likely get 3 or 4 in. So any thoughts about
I
how
don't
the
know. I think their
Big 12
top five, actually top six, are strong with talent. I
because
mean,
they're ranked. Yeah. BYU. Yeah.
yeah. AJ DeBanza for BYU.
They got
He,
4 in last year. They could get 5 in. It's possible.
he's the best player in the country.
Yeah.
Iowa State is surprisingly good.
Mm-hmm.
They're very, very good.
They are.
Kansas has had some scratching head losses, but They're real good. Texas Tech is loaded,
Hmm.
and Houston's very strong in Arizona. So I mean that's a good top of the
It
bracket.
is.
The Big 12 is good this year in basketball.
Do you think the Big 12 gets overlooked kind of like the ACC has the last couple of years as a basketball conference? Like people never talk about it.
Mm, I think people think of them as a football conference, but I think that
They're pretty
their
darn good in
lineup
this.
is it doesn't lie, you know.
Yeah. I don't know how they could think that because Houston's been to two straight Final Fours.
No,
Um,
I know.
and Texas Tech has always been there. I mean, when Virginia played in 2019, it was against Texas Tech in the final.
Yeah,
I don't know. I respect them as a basketball conference. I really do.
yeah, me too.
They're really solid. I think they'll get five in probably. Big East, you got UConn, St. John's at the top, Villanova, Creighton. That's kind of your perennial four that get in.
The usual suspects.
Yeah. And they were saying that they've been very disappointed with St. John's year this year. But then I went and looked at some of the highlights. They're 9-1, 16-5, and they're ranked 25th. I know the Big East isn't a great basketball conference anymore, but uh, I don't know. I don't think 9-1 is too shabby.
No, it's pretty good.
And UConn, of course, is always a powerhouse.
UConn's good.
Yeah,
Villanova, Creighton.
yeah.
Yeah, those are all tournament teams, and you just take turns which year which ones go.
I think they're just thinking with Patino, St. John's would be up in that kind of top five range, and it just hasn't happened this year. They've had some weird losses. So
Mm.
we'll see if they can pull it together. Let's take a look at the Big Ten. Michigan's at the top. Nebraska has been leading the Big Ten the entire year and is sitting at number 5 right now. They just took a weird loss this week. They're first of the year in the Big Ten, but for the most part, Nebraska has been the most surprising team in the country this year. They were picked second to last in the Big Ten, and they've been dominating. But you got Michigan, Nebraska, Michigan State, of course, always there. Illinois has been fantastic this year. And then
Yep.
Purdue is the perennial powerhouse there as well. So what are your thoughts about the top of the Big Ten?
Well, Nebraska has been the big surprise for sure. And Purdue is very highly ranked. I mean, that's a lot. If you have 5 teams in the top 12,
Mm-hmm.
that speaks highly to your conference. So
It does. It does. And you got Wisconsin sitting at 7-3, and so are the Bruins.
that's right.
So there's a lot of strength in that conference now too, basketball wise.
Yeah. I mean, Ohio State's no slouch.
Indiana's 5-5, and they're always a good program. So
Hmm.
I see them getting a lot of teams in, probably 7, maybe 7 or 8.
I don't know. 5 to 7.
Michigan's a really solid team this year, and they were picked to be top 5, so they've been proving out. Watch Illinois, though. They
Yeah.
really have a great squad. It'll be fun to watch. All right, let's take a look at the SEC. Texas A&M's at the top right now with Arkansas, Florida, Vanderbilt, Auburn, Kentucky, and Tennessee. So that's what the top of your SEC looks like right now. A lot of people are saying Florida's the best team in the country, but they've had some weird losses lately, and they're sitting at 6-2 in the SEC, but obviously a very dangerous team at tournament time. You got
Yeah, I mean, Florida's solid, but I wouldn't put them at the top.
Yeah, I'm just saying a lot of the experts think they're really, really good, and they're going to be a problem in
Yeah.
the tournament. So,
Yeah, they're good. They're always tough in the tournament.
yeah.
I like Thomas Hawk. He's so good. He was amazing last year.
Is A&M a surprise? I mean, no one was picking them. They were kind of middle of the pack in the preseason.
I would say yes. They are
Yeah.
a surprise.
And then
They're
Arkansas.
surprised.
What was weird for me looking at the top 25 is that SEC, their top ranked team was 15th. So I don't know. It feels like the SEC's fallen off a little this year in basketball.
Yeah.
It feels like.
Yep.
And then
I
Vanderbilt,
agree.
another big surprising team. They were picked very much towards the bottom, and have had a really nice year this year. sitting at 18-3, 5-3 in the conference.
Mhm.
So I don't know what they're doing at Vanderbilt to be the bottom basement team in all sports, and all of a sudden they're contending in all sports all of a sudden. So, any other take on the SEC?
No, I think that they're a little down compared to previous years. I think that they're trying to boost the amount of money they're spending on football, and I think it's going to hurt some of their other sports. They'll
Mm-hmm.
always be good in baseball, but I think some of the secondary sports for them, they're not gonna be as good. So I think the SEC is going to go a little bit downward in basketball for a couple of years
I
until they
personally
get.
think the experts are right. I think in the end, at the end of the season, the Florida Gators will be the SEC's best team coming out. But
Maybe.
that's not saying very much about the conference, I think. I think conference is not as good as it used to be this year. It's down a little bit. So,
I mean, I agree with that.
so some of the biggest surprises and disappointments. Obviously, we talked about Nebraska being the biggest surprise in the country for sure. They were supposed to be the bottom of that conference. Vanderbilt, also very, very solid year for the SEC. They're usually the bottom of the barrel in that conference.
Mhm.
Virginia is the third most surprising team. And you see here it says ACC is vastly better this season. Of course, you and I agree with that. And a lot of it has to do with Virginia being much more surprising and better like they used to be.
And Clemson.
And Clemson. But Virginia has 4 quad win games already,
Yeah.
which is a big deal in their net rating. So Clemson, of course, another team that's very surprising. Villanova had struggled under previous coach, and now they have a new coach, and all of a sudden playing really, really well, and they're getting back in the Big East title mix. St. Louis has been a surprise. This was the biggest surprise to me, this mid-major Miami of Ohio. They started 19-0, the Red Hawks.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means for them when we get into tournament time, but pretty exciting for a program like that to have that kind of run.
They're first in the MAC.
First in the MAC. So those are your.
We don't know what that means yet, but
we'll find out. So some of the biggest storylines. Here's your big one, Robbie.
Here we go.
The freshman.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned this. Why do you think that is? Because
so many.
In football, that's not true.
Well, I don't think you have to physically be built like LeBron James to be outstanding in basketball. So you can come out of high school and compete. I think the NFL, you can't. You have to be seasoned and older with years in the weight room. So I think that's part of it.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, I think that in basketball, it's more important to have those young guys because they don't stay very long in college and basketball. They want to go to the NBA earlier than in football. Football, they want to stay because of the NIL. But in basketball, they want to go to the NBA. They're really good ones. So these the freshmen are much more important in college for sure. We asked this question earlier, and I want to ask this question to all the viewers tonight to drop us a comment if you think you'll have a Cinderella this year or not. Last year you had all 4 number ones advance to the Final Four. We hadn't seen that in 25 years up until last year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's going to happen, or are we going to have a normal year?
No, somebody's going down.
Where we have a 11 in there or something, or a 13 in there,
or an 8 or something.
George Mason or something. Yeah. So you say we will get a Cinderella this year?
Yeah.
Okay. I think
somebody like Texas Tech.
I think so too.
Somebody like Texas Tech.
Another big story hitting college basketball is we've had 3 games now that they suspect there was actually point shaving going on.
Yeah.
And there's actually now an unsealed indictment over one of the lawsuits around it. Thoughts about our continued problems in every single sport with gambling scandals? Is this inevitable with all the gambling going on against every sport?
It reminds me of the movie Casablanca. They were horrified there was gambling at the casino. I mean, it's incumbent on all these programs to hold their people accountable and to keep them honest. But there's so much distractions now that there's legal gambling. People get into trouble and then they owe bad people money, and they need to do what they need to do to get out from off the hook.
Did you see
So
this? They found some similarities between the three cases that got sued. And first one is gambling scandals of the last 2 years have followed a similar set of circumstances. Players involved have all been lower paid NIL athletes, and they're looking at the higher paid guys. And the teams involved have almost always been mid to low major squads, so not in the major conferences. And most of them are having really bad seasons and playing in games that would not draw much scrutiny. So isn't that interesting
yeah,
that they're picking, games that nobody would watch and players and teams that nobody cares about, essentially. And they're doing the point shaving.
I mean it's smart. The camera's pretty bright in the big games, and it's
Yeah.
hard to hide when somebody keeps throwing it out of bounds or off somebody else's foot or whatever, dribbling.
We want the standard person out there to be able to go to, DraftKings or wherever else and place their bet, but we don't want the players doing it. So
No.
what else can we do to make sure it doesn't happen?
I think maybe have players register with DraftKings and let them know
Mhm.
who they are so that they can't put in bets.
Mhm.
Not sure. I know that there must be ways of helping keep
Well,
it
and how do
under
you get
control.
them to not get contacted by, mobsters or gangsters or people that are fixing this stuff, That's the
Yeah.
problem. It's really hard to stop that kind of behavior. So the last one here for the night is Big Ten or West Coast national champion. It's been a couple years since we've had either one. We've seen less and less West Coast contenders that are west of the Rocky Mountains. This year, of course, we have Arizona number one, and they are west of the Rocky Mountains, so they might be able to do something like this. But what's the thought about why we've had a little bit of a dry spell from both the Big Ten and from the West Coast?
I'm not surprised that the West Coast isn't great in basketball. That's just not where the majority of players are. Um, Big Ten has been pouring its money into football, and most of them aren't really big time basketball conferences. So
Because, you can see from 2002 to 2024, they almost always had at least an entrant in the final. It didn't always win it, like Purdue lost it, but
yeah,
they're used to having contenders, and now all of a sudden they're kind of getting pushed out a little bit.
yeah.
And
I'm
then,
not
and
I'm
the
not
West Coast,
super impressed.
and the West Coast, you're right. It seems like California is more of a football, hotbed. A lot of the great players are
Yeah,
out there college football.
they pour everything into football, and it shows.
Yeah, yeah. It seems
Mm,
like the really big programs now are East Coast, Northeast, Southeast, and Texas. That's kind of where you're
mhm.
finding most of the powerhouses. Of course, it changes over time. That's where we are right now, but that'll change, I'm sure.
Mm.
Well, Robbie, other thoughts, man, as we close out the first half of the season, head into the second half, really taking a look at the NBA standings, looking at all the conference standings in college, and, nothing like March Madness.
I like the Big 12 this year.
I do
I
too.
really do. I think I think they're loaded. I think the national champion is coming from that division.
I do too.
I think the ACC's improved. They're competitive now. They weren't for a few years there.
I think it's coming from the ACC or the Big 12. One of those two is going to win it
Yeah. And
this year.
then keep your eyes on AJ DeBansa. I think he's the best player in the country. Um, SEC's got a few teams that are exciting that could be competitive in it all. Florida. Um,
And on the pro side, what kind of chance do you give SGA of getting his second ring 2 years in a row?
uh, Decent. I'd say decent. They they're still dominant, and they're clearly um, taking care of business, even though they faltered a little for a tiny bit. But I think that Detroit is nasty.
Hmm.
They they have a lot of players that play well together, and
Feels like the Spurs are definitely a contender. They've gotten so much better. Nobody really wants to play the Spurs right now.
Spurs are good. Yeah, seems like Wembanyama is really growing up.
Hmm.
He's learning how to like take care of his body. He was talking about some of the politics stuff with some of the riots and stuff going on, and he handled it kind of well, where he was vague, but he said he had to felt like he had to say something. I just think he's growing up before our eyes. There's a lot of good players in the NBA now, and I think they've done a really good job of marketing them.
You've talked
And
about in our previous NBA episode, you talked about why European players are becoming such a big percentage of the NBA,
yeah,
and that one of the reasons they're so good is because of their practice
fundamentals.
schedule, their fundamentals. They focus on it. They
Yeah,
focus on shooting. You've got
they shoot
Wemby.
free
Wemby's some,
throws. They work on dribbling, passing. They're not just dunking. You know what I mean? They're and bombing threes. They want to hit. They work on all the skills.
you
They
notice
take practice very seriously.
Jokic is one of the top 3 or 4 passers in the whole NBA, and he's 7'1".
Yeah,
And Wemby has added all those skills now, and Wemby's one of the best 3-point shooters in the Western Conference, and he's
yeah,
74 or whatever it is. So,
yeah. He's good.
so you see that,
You
and
know,
then
Steph Curry's still leading the league in threes.
I know,
That
amazing.
shouldn't surprise us anymore. But I was looking at stats. It was pretty interesting. OKC's leading the league in average.
Hmm.
Denver's second. That's weird.
Hmm.
Um, and then the Heat, Cleveland, and Minnesota. So
Denver's got
Minnesota,
a, Denver's got a really good team.
yeah,
There's
they
no
do.
reason they can't knock some people off.
They do.
Yeah.
Point differential. Who scores the most above their opponent? OKC wins that one too, and
Hmm.
Detroit's second. So I guess when Detroit loses, they lose close ones, and when they
So if
win,
you
they
had
win
an
big.
OKC Denver final, you think it would be competitive? You don't think it would be a 4-0 or 4-1 type series? You
Yeah,
think
oh
it?
yeah, it should be competitive. But watch out for Detroit, Boston, Houston, San Antonio,
Hmm.
and then the second tier teams that can give you some fits like Minnesota and the Knicks.
Well, guys, it's going to be a lot of fun as we get into March and March Madness and the conference tournaments. I know the ACC schedule, they're exactly halfway through. They've got 9 games left. Same
Yeah,
with all the other conferences. So it's going to be really fun. And then you got the conference tournaments. A lot of people take off work for those. And then you're
yeah, we
ready
got
to.
nine conference games left, and then we start the conference tournament,
Mhm.
and then before you know it,
You
March
have
Madness
Selection
is here.
Sunday. You have Selection
Selection
Sunday.
Sunday,
Yeah.
that's exciting. Everyone does their brackets, and it's going to start warming up. You got, you know, the excitement of March Madness is really not like anything else. They've captured a lot of the magic with the football playoff, but it's still in its infancy compared to what March Madness is.
And
The
it's
way
kind
they've
of nice that there's a break between March Madness, which ends in April, and the NBA playoffs, which are really May and June.
Yeah,
It's kind of nice that there's a
yeah.
little gap there.
You got a little hockey in there. You got the Masters. Um, you've got several things going. It's
And
a
in a week from now, you got the Winter Olympics starting. So next week we're going to
yeah,
have our Winter Olympics preview show, guys. So watch for that.
yeah.
We'll
That's
be
gonna be
talking to you
great.
about Winter
I enjoyed
Olympics.
that last time we did the
Yeah.
Olympics preview.
And
That
then
was
here in
good.
the U.S. this summer in June is going to be the World Cup. So that's going to be absolutely humongous. So we
Yeah,
have some huge sporting events this year to talk about. It's going to be fun.
yeah. There's a lot. You think football's ending and things are gonna let up, but in some ways, it's gonna get more intense.
It is. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining tonight in our mid-season update. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Drop us a comment. We love reading them on the air. And we will see you guys next week for another episode of the Sports Guys. Have a great one.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. We had a good time, and keep coming back. We'll see you soon.
See you next time.